Well, we're here. We're here. Corey's here, and we're about to get it live right now. Come to McKale Madness. Let's go. Welcome into another episode of McKale Madness. I am Saul Bookman. That is Corey Williams, and we are officially here. Oh my gosh. That was a long run.
You did good. You did good.
Oh, did we lose Corey?
I'm here.
Anyway, we appreciate you all joining us today. It has been a minute since we have seen you, about a week, and a lot has happened since then. So let's get into it. We'll wait for Corey to come back. I'm not sure what's going on right now. Kevin, you good on the back end?
Yeah, Corey's here. You're here. I'm here.
We're all good.
Can anybody hear me?
I think Saul's on his own on this.
Am I in the abyss?
I think Saul's in a remote location. He can't get us. We're here, but he can't see us or hear us. So maybe we got to.
Or maybe it's me.
It could be.
So yeah, maybe I'm the problem?
I think it is Saul here.
Maybe Saul. He's in the trenches. I appreciate the effort, though, doing the show live from the Big 12 tournament. I mean, it can't be easy. And he's working on it. He's working on a cell phone. And I've been in those press rooms before. It's definitely not easy. No question about it. It's not easy at all.
Yes, indeed. Well, Corey, while Saul figures that out real quick, how are you doing? How are you feeling about the Wildcats Big 12 tournament time? We got a Kansas rematch. How are you feeling?
Well, here's the thing, man. Like, you can tell by my outfit today is very clear. Rep the A. But I also had to sport the Jesus piece because it's time to pray. It's that time of year where, you just got to hope. We've seen all variation of Arizona basketball this year. We've seen the good games. We've seen the not so good games. We've seen the ceiling, and we think we've seen the floor as well with this team. But we talked about it. The day is finally here. Arizona is always a team that's judged by the postseason. And today is the beginning of the postseason. So Arizona fans have been waiting for this for months. A lot of fans, to be quite honest, don't care about anything but this, which is the postseason. And today, we take our step into March Madness. However, we do over the next 3 days in Kansas City. And then Sunday night, we find out where we go. But for me, my emotion, I'm a firm believer that conference tournaments and postseason play do matter, especially when you're talking about working out kinks, building confidence, and establishing a rhythm. Because let's be honest, the team that's going to win the national championship, they're going to establish a rhythm this week, and it starts in their conference tournament. So I'm anxious to see any changes from Arizona's last outing against Kansas. But more importantly, I want to see some urgency now that it's do or die for Arizona.
Sorry about the technical difficulties. Can you guys see and hear me okay?
I can hear you, Saul.
You can't see me?
I can see you too.
Oh, okay. There we go. All right.
Let me bring you up to speed. Since your hiatus, you've been replaced. It is now me and Kevin. Madness. Deal went through in the last 25 seconds. Kev signed a multi-year deal with McKale Madness.
All right.
So we're letting you back on as a guest star.
Okay. All right. Cool. Yeah. Well, since you were speaking during that whole time, my lawyers got involved and we reneged the deal. So we're good to go. I'm back, full-time host. I appreciate you guys' patience. Thanks for taking over for the two-minute brief stint as the lead host of the McKale Madness podcast. You did a great job, Corey. I appreciate y'all. But it's time to get it rocking, right? Kansas is here. They played last night against UCF. UCF, oh, man, they were real close to pulling that game out. I really liked the way they played last night. They really challenged Kansas on multiple levels. And I know Bill Self said that he didn't feel like that Kansas played their best game. I think Kansas is who Kansas is. Like, I didn't feel like anybody particularly played bad out there for Kansas. I just think that UCF rose up to the occasion and played really well. And that was led by Hall, because Hall was a dog last night. And I truly believe if he doesn't get that cramp, they win that game.
Well, part of being a good coach is your X's and O's, but you also have to manipulate the narrative. And Bill Self going into a post-game presser saying that Kansas didn't play their best game. Yeah, Bill, miss me with that. Y'all were trying to play as well as you could, and there was no answer for the one-on-one abuse your guys were taking defensively. You didn't have any defenders that could stop UCF's guards. It was obvious to anybody with a pair of eyeballs. They were dog walking y'all in the one-on-one. They were blowing by your defenders. They were dropping off for threes. They had better guard play than you, and there wasn't a damn thing you could have done about it. So you can sit there and say, oh, we didn't play our best effort. Did you ever have anybody that could guard Hall? What about Johnson? You never had anybody that could guard those guys. So you can put a spin on it and try to lick your wounds and keep your guys' confidence high. But the reality is your on-ball defenders got exposed. And had UCF had the presence of mind to go to the rim on that last possession and get fouled, you would have got bounced out of the tournament last night. And the fifth foul on Johnson was bogus. Oh. He didn't grab him. So you were the beneficiary of a bogus whistle and a lack of, experience. You got to credit Johnny Dawkins. He coached his ass off with that team last night. And they were one-on-one take or one referee foul away from bouncing Kansas. So you can say you didn't play your best game. I saw UCF make you not play your best game.
1,000,000%. I couldn't agree more. And that's the challenge for Arizona, because can they do the same thing and take advantage of Kansas? Because I do not believe Kansas's guards are all that great. Mayo is decent. If you let him shoot the three, he will kill you from the outside. He proved that in the last game against Arizona. He proved it last night. He hit 5 threes again last night. Like, he's a good outside shooter. But in terms of creation, I'm not a big fan of Mayo, Harris, and their guards in terms of being playmakers. And Corey, tell me if I'm wrong. Usually when it comes to the tournament, if you want to go very far, you have to have great guard play. Like, that is just what you have to have. And to me, if Arizona rises up to the challenge and defends the way that they should have defended against them the first time in Kansas, I believe Arizona should win this game. Like, I do believe Arizona is the better team. But they got to show up and they got to play defense. You can't give wide open threes like they did against Kansas the first time around. And I'm interested to see if they correct that problem tonight.
They have to correct that problem. But here's the formula for me. Kansas has 5 players that have to play more than 33 to 34 minutes a game. They have to. So when you only are 5 deep, which I don't want to say Kansas is only 5 deep, but against Arizona, they had 5 guys that played more than 34 minutes. That's what it took to win a home game against Arizona. You cannot allow guys to stay out on the court for extended amount of times and not challenge them defensively. Go at guys, draw fouls, which UCF was tremendous at, getting to the free throw line, drawing fouls, force the issue. If you're only 5 deep, I'm going to make you play defense. And as far as Arizona's concerned, yes, they have a huge question to answer tonight. You let Hunter Dickinson go one-on-one, and he had 33 points in 34 minutes. UCF double-teamed him, and he was pretty much non-existent away from the big 3 that he hit late in the game. But what's your approach? Is it more of the same? Let Hunter Dickinson go on a tear? Because if you let him go on a tear, that's fine, but you can't let Mayo get 20 then. So I'm going to be interested to see if Arizona sticks with the same post defense they had against Kansas, or do they switch it up and double? But you're 1,000% correct in guard play. Tournament games that are on TV, you've got extra TV timeouts built in. There's plenty of rest. Not turning the ball over, getting a good shot every time with all those timeouts and ability for coaches to get in there and manipulate the team. Yeah, it all comes down to who has better guards.
1,000,000%, 1,000,000%. And I think tonight we're going to find out if KJ Lewis, Jaden Bradley, and Caleb Love will be able to step up to the challenge and fix some of those wrongs. And it's not just them. Like, listen, watching from, a much higher view at Kansas. I mean, I'm all the way up at the top of the arena. I feel like my head was about to touch the roof. I could see schematically what was going on a little bit clearer and a little bit better, as opposed to when you're at McKale, you're a little bit more, you could see it, but it's a little bit, you're more like eye level to a certain degree because you're so far back and you're kind of looking at an angle. So you can't see the clear movement on the opposite side, right? So against Kansas, I was able to see that. And a couple things that stood out for me, Arizona defensively, was the third or fourth guy in the rotation defensively always seemed to get hung up or stuck on maybe if they were predicting or anticipating like an over the top pass to Hunter Dickinson down low, they were kind of in that key on the weak side. That ball skips to the guy that's wide open that he's supposed to cover on this side. Or in the rotations, when they would go pick and roll and they would do the switch, another man would help out on the guy that's rolling to the basket, and everybody else has to recover. And those rotations weren't happening after that initial second or third person. The other guys were getting stuck. And because that was happening, the guards were able to take advantage of that in Lawrence. So those are the small things that I feel like they're easily fixable, but they have been problematic all season long. So there is a little bit of hesitation on my end to say that, oh, they can fix it. It's an easy problem to fix. Well, it's an easy problem to fix, but they've had problems all year long trying to fix it. So that's probably the biggest key to me in this game.
Yeah, and you're watching a very sophisticated chess match between Tommy Lloyd and Bill Self. Tommy Lloyd clearly instructed his team and his players to protect inside out. So on those ball screen actions where there's a roll, on those Hunter Dickinson situations, everybody get to the lane and we're going to invite the outside shot. And it was a calculated decision. Can Kansas beat us from the outside? Well, yes, they can knock down threes. If you help inside out the way Arizona did the first time around, credit Bill Self and his squad. They moved the ball, they got it to the shooters, they knocked down the shots. Now, here's the bigger problem for me when I look at this game. You played Hunter Dickinson one-on-one. He scored 33 points. That means when the shots went up, everybody was man-to-man, and you still gave up 16 offensive rebounds. Mm-hmm. If you were doubling Hunter and gave up 16 offensive, I get it, because now you've got a four-man crashing the glass against a guard because your other big man went to double. But everybody stayed home, and you still gave up 16 offensive rebounds in a 7-point loss. If Arizona cleans up the defensive glass, gets physical, hits people in their chest, box them out, keep them off the glass, you're going to take 7 or 8 possessions away from Kansas. Now, it's going to be a different atmosphere. It was a week ago. It's not going to be exactly the same game, but Kansas is going to miss shots. Is Arizona going to rebound? Because the thing about rebounding is it's very eventual, in the fact that in those first 6 or 7 minutes, Saul, I'm coming to get rebounds all day. If every time I come, you box me out, by around the 12 or 13 minute mark of the game, maybe I stop coming, because Saul's always putting a body on me and keep me off the glass. He's serious about rebounding. Okay, Saul, you can have it. Guys stop coming when you box them out. But once they get a couple, it's all night. They're going to keep coming because, hey, I can go get the rebound. So Arizona has to send that physical message in the opening 10 minutes, like, there are no offensive rebounds tonight. Don't even try it. And if you do crash and don't get it, we get it, leak it out, score. That also keeps teams from crashing the glass if they're more concerned about getting back.
Yeah, I think one of the other adjustments that Arizona can make is, if Tobe Awaka struggles with Hunter Dickinson like he did the first time against Kansas, putting Henry Vasar on him a little bit more. Now, I know size-wise and physicality-wise, Hunter Dickinson's he's on another level. However, you saw last night when UCF was facing Kansas, their big man, Mustafa Thiam, I lost him on how to pronounce that. He was effective against Hunter Dickinson, especially down low in the post because of his length, and the length is what somewhat bothered him. Hunter Dickinson looked way too comfortable against Arizona the first time around. It looked like he could get whatever he wanted, however he wanted, and he felt in good rhythm. You gotta throw him off a little bit. You have to, because he is an efficient player around the rim. He just is. So I would like to see it, that little wrinkle. And then the other thing is the tempo I thought was good on both ends, but you're expecting in the first matchup, Kansas had 33 from Hunter Dickinson, and then they had, I think, 20 from Zeke Mayo and 12 from KJ Adams. Everybody else was in single figures. Last night, Hunter Dickinson had 24 or 23. Zeke Mayo had 24, and AJ Storr had 19. Everybody else, single figures. KJ Adams had 15 as well. So they had 4 players in double figures, but AJ Storr, who in that first game against Arizona, he got 2 3-point shots up, 4 field goals, was 0 for everything, played 7 minutes. Last night he plays over 20 minutes, and that was a big difference for Kansas last night. If AJ Storr doesn't play the way he does last night, they don't win that game. And are you going to rely on that if you're Kansas? And can Arizona take advantage of it? To me, I feel like there's a recipe there to not only win this game, but I think that they can win it handily if they play their game.
Yeah, if they play their game, I like in Kansas, like any solid ball club, you're a table with 4 legs. I'm going to make you try to be a table with 3 legs. I'm going to take somebody's getting in foul trouble. I'm sorry. All you guys have to be on the court. I'm putting 2 fouls on somebody and sitting down. And then I want to see what type of Kansas team you are with a bench guy out here who we really don't have to respect. Arizona being the aggressor, applying that offensive pressure, taking it to Kansas. You already know early in the game, everybody has to keep their hands in their pockets. They're not as deep as Arizona. So we're coming off the bench with KJ Lewis and Trey Townsend. We're coming off the bench with Basar. We got guys that we can come in the game with. So I would be applying the pressure defensively, trying to make Kansas keep their hands in their pockets and give me a bunch of free buckets because you're not going to foul me early. And as far as the rebounding, that's just physical. That's just mentality. Arizona's got to come out with you're never going to get a rebound type of mentality. Every time you come in contact with somebody, and I know this sounds, back in my day, and it sounds a little cliche, but as basketball players, we test each other. I may crash the glass just to see how strong you are. Okay, maybe I can get him next time. Walking past each other, going into your timeout huddles. If I brush up against you and you move out the way, oh yeah, I got him. Like there's so many opportunities of physical contact to send a message. Even after the whistle blows and you're holding the ball and the guy's trying to reach and take it from you, it's like, bro, get off me. Like you constantly have to be letting people know you are not here to be punked and you are tougher than them. And it starts today. And I'm gonna say this, and I think you'll agree with what I'm about to say. You remember the intensity that Jaden Bradley played with in those final minutes against Clemson?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Everybody on Arizona need to go back and watch that. And everybody needs to understand that's the mode from this evening until we're done.
Yes.
That's the mode. We're not coming out chilling. There's no more games on the schedule. This is the only guaranteed game, plus wherever we go next week. But that mode of all business seriousness, like win or go home, that's the vibe from now. Not you got to be smart defensively and don't get in foul trouble, but you need to play with that level of intensity. It's not there are no more wait and see moments. Oh, let's just see how the first half goes. No, we're gonna go out and create a great first half.
Wholeheartedly agree. I think that's a spot on point right there. They do have to take advantage of that. They absolutely have to. And I think, as you move forward in this game, I think you need to make Hunter Dickinson work on the defensive end too. I don't think that Arizona did nearly enough on that end. Henry Basar only played 16 minutes in that first game. There's a small part of me, Corey, that feels like in watching UCF last night, I felt like there were multiple opportunities where they could have, when they went pick and roll and Hunter Dickinson switched, I felt like they didn't do a good enough job of creating space for their player to attack Hunter Dickinson on the edge. I feel like they took advantage a couple times, but not very much. And I think there's an opportunity here for Arizona. Hell, you might even take out Basar and Awaka and say, you know what, we'll try to double team a little bit down at the other end. Hell, but Johnson did a decent job every now and then when he was mismatched against Hunter Dickinson down low, and he's only 5'8", 5'9" last night. So to tell me that KJ Lewis, if he switched up and had to match up against Hunter Dickinson, I'm not saying that it's a recipe that you want to continue to just feed him with. No, not at all. But like every now and then, just to mix it up and see if on the offensive end you can take advantage of him more than he could take advantage of you on the other end. I think there's something there that you might be able to take advantage of. I would love to see maybe a 5 wide. You go Caleb Love. Let's go Caleb, KJ, Carter Bryant, Jaden, and then maybe throw in Del Orso or Trey Townsend and go to work.
Yeah.
Why not?
I mean, I'll be honestly, like, there was a Kansas whistle going on last night in the later stages of the game.
Oh my God,
Kansas
yes.
and Hunter Dickinson, their household names, and they got some calls that were completely ridiculous. They missed some travels. They gave them some fouls. But you're right. If I'm out there, I'm trying to dunk on Hunter Dickinson for the first 10 minutes of the game. I want to see if you're athletically coordinated enough to block my dunk, block my layup without fouling. Prove that. I don't care who you are, Sports Illustrated, whatever. Bro, I'm bringing it to you because I know you're under specific instructions not to get in foul trouble. That's on you. If you come out the game, this game is over. So you've got to apply that pressure. And also, I'm putting the pressure on the officials. I'm not ducking this guy. If he fouls me, you better call it. If he fouls me and you don't call it, then I look at Tommy, and Tommy looks at the refs, and we say, okay, we see what kind of BS is going on tonight. But what we first going to do is take the temperature of the room. I'm diving in this dude's chest, and I'm going to see, is he coordinated enough to make a great athletic block? No, he's not. He's not an athletic shot blocking big man. He's big, but I think you can get him to get out of position. And you're right. I don't think UCF took advantage of situations where he's out of position. He's smart enough to give you a ton of space when he gets caught on a mismatch. But yeah, taking it to him, it does take a guy 6'7", 6'8" to get into him and create some issues. But I think we're talking about the same thing. We're talking about an Arizona team that needs to be aggressive and needs to be in attack mode.
1,000%. So it'll be a fun game to watch. Listen, I think the other factor here is Kansas had an overtime game last night. Hunter Dickinson played almost a full 40 minutes. He actually played 39 minutes and 56 seconds. You know what I mean? They had their 4 of their starting 5 played 35 minutes or more last night. There's a bit of a fatigue factor here that I think might also exist. Now, I know from game to game, maybe game 1 to game 2, probably not as much. But I will say this, if Kansas makes it past Arizona, I just don't see them making it past that next team, because that's 3 tough games in a row, back to back to back, where your guys are logging heavy minutes. I don't think that's going to even be a scenario, though, because I do believe Arizona will take care of business tonight. And I think we've seen good Arizona basketball. We've seen bad Arizona basketball this year. We've seen more good than bad, but it has been very inconsistent. I do have this feeling, much like I had the feeling last night that I thought UCF was going to play very well and make it a close game. I have this feeling that Arizona will put this all together at the right time. And I feel like it starts tonight. So hopefully that'll be the case, because I know we all would love to see that. So any other thoughts on Kansas, Corey?
So what happens is last night, Arizona's in the hotel watching on TV. They had light films. Maybe they went and shot somewhere, had a shoot around, anything like that.
They had a shoot around. They had a shoot around here at the arena, and then they had a practice at another location.
Light walkthrough, and they're chilling. Same time last night, Kansas is fighting for their life in an overtime game against UCF. So there's a little wax burned off the candle. There's a little miles put on the car last night. For Kansas, get your guys off their feet right away, start pumping fluids into them. Maybe we do a walkthrough today. Maybe we do some shooting, but probably not, given it was an overtime game and it was later. For Kansas, Bill Self is smart enough to go to his bench. I guarantee you're going to see subs at 17, 16, 15 minutes for Kansas, because he has to make his main crew last the whole night against Arizona, which is a much more difficult opponent than UCF. So my point is this. When you see the bench players going to the scorer's table, somebody on Arizona needs to be licking their chops. Like, yo, give me the rock. Look who's coming in. They're trying to buy time. They're trying to shorten the game. They're trying to slide an inferior player out here and rest a good player. No, we're going to make you pay for that sub. Who is that? Oh, that's so-and-so. Ball, please. We're not going to let up. If you allow them to substitute and stay in the game, it makes it more difficult to win. You have to punish bench players. And I say that from a perspective of a player who was a bench player for half of my college career, and then I was a starter. And I know what it's like to get picked on coming in when you're just trying to give a guy a blow, and the next thing you know, you're getting ISO 3 times in a row, ice cold coming off the bench. That is not cool. Arizona has to try to do that with Kansas bench players tonight.
1,000%. Listen, folks, if you haven't had an opportunity to check out a lot of our stuff, well, let me tell you about it here in a second. There we go. Really, the only thing we got to talk about is, listen, if you have not had an opportunity to check out our website at gophnx.com, you absolutely should, and become a diehard. Right now, I've put in there a couple things for our diehards only. It's a little bit of behind the scenes action out at Kansas, from the city of Lawrence all the way to the arena, the environment, behind the scenes, all the good stuff, the things that maybe you don't get access to. You know, what's so funny, Corey, is, you know, I've been on the road doing these things, I mean, for the better part of maybe almost a decade, right? And, you know, I've been to Super Bowl Media Row, and I've been to the Final Four and all this other stuff. I never even thought to show my wife what it looked like behind the scenes. Like I never even thought about that. And so today, as I'm walking into the arena, I was FaceTiming her. I was just like, oh, you know what? I don't think I've ever showed you like what it looks like back here. So I showed her what the setup was, and she was like, whoa, I had no idea. I thought it was just, you know, maybe a trailer and a couple tables. So, you know, like this is the kind of access that you're going to get with us at PHNX. We're going to try and give you everything behind the scenes. Obviously, Corey and I do this show once a week, but Corey and I have even talked about maybe doing a few things on the side to just, you know, give you a little bit of spice as the week goes along, especially as the tournament goes along. There's so many valuable games that are coming up that people are going to want some insight in. Corey's seen a lot of these teams working for ESPN, you know, and I'm writing as well for the first time in like forever. And it's mostly because we just want to be able to give you as much value as possible. So become a diehard, go to gophnx.com, subscribe, become a diehard. Right now, we got a limited time deal. $36 to sign up. You get a free t-shirt. You get it for a whole year. And it's all access. You get to be a part of the Discord. You get to talk while the game's going on in our Discord and chat. It's fantastic. So become a diehard today, and enjoy some free merch on us for becoming a diehard. And then on top of that, we have golf tournaments that are coming up as well. We have a Green Jacket Open, which will be on Saturday of the Masters. That is here in about a month on April 12th. We're going to be there all day, basically. So we're going to show up in the morning. We're going to watch Saturday of the Masters. We're going to have, you know, some giveaways, and then we're going to go out and we're going to play 18 in a scramble. And then the winners will get a pretty cool prize. TBD on that, because we're trying to work out the final details, but everybody's going to get a limited edition PHNX gift pack. It is fantastic. If you've never been to our golf tournaments, they are some of the funnest things you could possibly participate in. If you love golf, you like hanging out, you like having fun. We try to mix it up, a little bit of seriousness, but also a little bit of fun from hole to hole. So check it out. Go phnx.com/events to sign up for that and become a diehard today. All right, Corey. You know, Corey, it's kind of funny, you know, in talking about getting prepared for this show, you genuinely didn't have any idea that there was a little bit of controversy that happened over the weekend with Tommy Lloyd in terms of his comments, which is, I think that says a lot about, like, you know, I love the way that you're able to disconnect and just be like, you know, like it's not for me every day. And I love that. I wish I could do the same thing. And, you know, Tommy Lloyd came out in that presser and he said basically that Arizona fans are great. However, Kansas and Iowa State venues were on a whole nother level this year, and that there's a little bit of a gap that we have to make up. And a lot of people felt called out. They felt hurt. They felt disrespected. And I'm here to say, and I've been on the record on this, that while I think the timing of his comments after a loss to Kansas and you've lost 4 out of your last 7 were probably not the best, he wasn't necessarily wrong. And I think there's some things that we can improve overall in terms of the experience at McKale that are easy fixes that can tweak things. And I teased it last night on our show that there are some things that I didn't even know that exist that we could talk about. But Corey, your initial thoughts to his comments in the first place.
You got to understand, when you take the head coaching position at any school, you're in control of everything. Everything is going to be laid at your feet. The end of the game results, the season ticket numbers, the win-loss records, the revenue generated, all that. You're sitting at the big desk. The buck stops with you. So coaching the kids is probably 15% of the job. So Arizona's in the Big 12, and we're in the Big 12 to stay for the foreseeable future. Tommy and the kids go to all these venues. And the donors that go on the trip, you notice none of them were in the comment section talking about Tommy was out of pocket.
No.
Because they went on the trip.
Yeah.
And they're like, damn. So
yes. And I spoke to a lot of them. I spoke to a lot of them on Saturday, and they brought that up.
Yeah. So it's like the reason SEC football is so competitive is when LSU builds a new stadium, the Alabama fans, they see that. Like, everybody in the conference sees the gains and the movements of your program because all the schools are so close. The fan bases go tailgate. Oh my God, did you see Florida's new stadium? Did you see their new workout facility? Did you see what Bama has, what Auburn has? So it's like an arms race. But that doesn't happen. It didn't happen in the Pac-12, and it doesn't really happen in the Big 12. How many of our fans went to the Kansas game? Because I guarantee you, any of them that went aren't saying Tommy was wrong. How many of our fans went to Ames, Iowa? So he's saying the truth, and I understand it rubs Arizona fans the wrong way, but it's such a layered conversation. One, Tucson ain't Ames, Iowa, okay? When the Cyclones are playing, you can rob a bank, bro. Ain't nobody else doing anything. Like, everybody's over there. It's the premier event in that little town. Do you know I had to zoom in 3 times on my map to find Ames sitting above that? I grew up in Illinois, and I never had the urge to go to Ames, Iowa. Have you ever been to Lawrence, Kansas? No. You know why? Because you didn't go to UKU. If you're not going to KU, there's no reason to go to that city either. These hubs are the only show in town, and that plays into the intensity of the fan bases and the activity going there. Secondly, it costs like $73,000 to get a season ticket for a U of A game, and I'm exaggerating, but it's just what it is. We've had 40 years of excellence out here in the desert. Do you know I came out here in 1992, over 30 years ago, and I still meet diehard Wildcat fans that have never stepped foot inside McKale Center. To this day, I meet people. Man, I love the Cats. I'm hoping I can go to a game. Wait a minute, you haven't been to a game?
I mean, honestly, Corey, I hadn't been to a game in McKale until I was 36 years old.
You see what I'm saying?
Because I couldn't get access, and I was, I didn't have money like that,
The people who have the tickets aren't letting them go, and for good reason. The price point of the ticket is way out of a student's reach, and to get into the lower bowl where you can make the most noise and have that crazy effect, yeah, you damn near need to be a business owner, and you need to be forking over $25,000, $30,000, $10,000, $15,000 to join the Wildcat Club. Then you're put on a waiting list, and then, oh my God, somebody dies, and you move up, and then you get your tickets. And yes, the average age of the diehard Arizona basketball fan is more than most schools. But we're running a business, but we also have a college. We're a college town, but we're bigger than Ames. We're bigger than Lawrence, Kansas. So Tommy's comments are spot on, but Arizona has a ton to be proud of. There are problems that we have that are what I like to call good problems. Hey, man, your basketball is so popular, the loud, crazy kids can't afford to get close to the court. Well, it's what it is. How do we rectify it and create more of an atmosphere? Well, there's people over at the school that make a ton of money every year that can figure that out. I know people don't care for the in-game entertainment. I know people want to see tweaks to the atmosphere, and maybe they can do that. But at the end of the day, we have a much more mature program. We have a higher ticket value. We have a higher dollar like fan base where the people that are afford to sit in that lower ring shell out some serious coin. Hell, I'm an alum and I can't even get in the lower ring unless I call over and get a comp from the basketball office. If it was up to me to buy my own season tickets, I probably wouldn't. I don't have money like that. And I played here. And I really couldn't spend to get down there on the court. So I know Tommy caught a lot of heat because a lot of fans felt like he called him out, but there are ways to tweak the atmosphere without really changing the seating or changing the price per ticket. You know, we're not desperate for fans. I think Tucson loves the program. They support the program. It's one of the reasons I even came out here in the first place. I'd never seen a school where you could hear the fans through the television chanting Steve Kerr's name, chanting players. I was insane to go play. I mean, that was my high school experience. And, you know, shout out Batavia High School. Those are the kind of crazy fans I played in front of in high school. So for me, it was great to go to a college. But at the time, there was maybe 2 or 3 schools that were like that. Does that atmosphere win you extra games? I think it does affect the opponents. I think it does diminish their ability to concentrate a little bit. It might be a Saul, 2, 3, 4 point advantage, a loud crowd.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, you know, if that's what you're seeking is that home court advantage, Tommy's job is to press for excellence in every facet of the program, players, recruits, staff, you know, atmosphere, fundraising, NIL. He's got to do it all. And, you know, I can understand people felt a certain way. But it's a tough call.
I feel like Tommy was really pointing out just the feel overall of these places. And let's just point out like Kansas and Iowa State, for example, right? It was a traditional feel. A lot of the things that Kansas did specifically were very traditional things that they have been doing for, 100 years in basketball. Like you can't ignore that part. Like they've been around for a century doing this specific thing, right? So they have a little bit longer of a track record than Arizona, and they have generation after generation after generation that have become KU Jayhawk fans and learn those traditions. We have probably about 2-3 generations, maybe at the most, going from Lute's time in the 80s all the way to now. And we're still developing that, and you're seeing more and more U of A fans because of that, I think. But again, I think what you can't do, and what I felt this whole time, is that you've lost the tradition of some of the traditional aspects that Arizona basketball was known for. And you and I think that shift came when Sean Miller came, because when Sean Miller came, he really he wanted to make it more of a pro style feel in that environment. So a lot of tweaks were made to make it feel like a professional atmosphere, because he wanted to call it a players program, and some of those aspects were kind of taken away. So instead of the cheering or the clapping and the band playing to the tip, now we got this montage video of craziness. Fun video, don't get me wrong. Like it got the students hyped up, and I think he was trying to target a newer generation of fan. But I think in doing so, you kind of lost some of the traditional aspects of what Arizona basketball was all about, and the reason why people loved it. The lighting is one thing that people bring up a lot. What I did not know is that the lighting, when they replaced the lighting, in order to dim the lights in the arena, they had to replace the entire lighting system. And when they did that, the old system was completely taken out. And the current system does not have the ability to brighten up the arena. It just doesn't. That's the max it can go. And so what do? Do you implement a whole nother lighting system so that way you can brighten up the entire arena again? Probably not, because that's going to cost you hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. So my solution is let's go to Provo. You were at Provo, okay? And now the player intros, they drop that curtain, right? They drop that curtain at center court. They show the video, and it's more LA Lakers style, because they do the same thing. But it's big, it's impressive, cool. But then on top of that, they have a spotlight on the student section itself. And to me, the spotlight on the student section is one simple solution to creating an atmosphere for the students to get loud and raucous, and to really develop and move forward. I think that's a nice way to be able to tweak, and move forward. So I think those are the types of small little adjustments that you can make. And listen, you can be all in your feels about, oh, well, I don't agree that, that McKale is a bad atmosphere. It's not a bad atmosphere. But I will say this, you think Kansas was running a promotion the day or two before the U of A game to try and sell out that arena like Arizona did for Iowa State?
Yeah.
Like, no, they didn't. They didn't have to, right?
No.
Like, so there is a reality to this where you need to realize, like, hey, if you want to be the best program in the country, or if you want to have the best, or you want to be considered one of the top-notch environments, like, the fans also got to show out too. And I don't think it's just because of the old people in the lower bowl that are taking up all the good seats. Like, I don't think it's just because of that. I think it's also just an organic thing, a tradition. You have to have buy-in. You have to have a reason to go. You have to have, like, when I was at Kansas State, like, I didn't know what Kansas State was all about. And I show up, and from the first time you get on campus, like that first orientation you have, they talk about family, Ema. Ema means cat, and they just imprint it on you from the second you're there. And then you go to the your first football game, and everybody's into it. Everybody's doing the Wabash Cannonball and all this other stuff, and they have all these other cheers and chants, and like, those are the traditions that have been carried on from generation to generation. And a newsflash, they also started around the 80s, like Luke did with Bill Snyder, and coming up through there and building their program up to one of the best college football programs in the country, a top 25, basically every single year. So there's a lot of things that I think are inherently great about what we do at McKale. Like, the environment, when it's at its peak, it's as good as any environment in the country, bar none. But we're not talking about the peaks. We're talking about that middle ground where that constant feel. And when I was at Kansas, it just felt like it was a constant loudness all game long, from 30 minutes before tip to 30 minutes after the tip and the senior speeches. Like, it was just loud. So
yeah,
it's
Kansas. It's Kansas. It's senior day. And you do have to modernize, because a lot of times when you bring recruits on campus and you bring them to a game, the high school kids are watching the video board and the smoke and the pyrotechnics, and they're like, damn, this is an NBA model. Keep in mind, if you're a blue blood, everybody that's coming to your school has aspirations of one day playing in the NBA. So you have to give your school that NBA look or feel in order to attract recruits. So change is inevitable. You can't do things the way you did it in 1989, because that's not sexy to a 17-year-old kid in 2025. So the changes that they're making are all calculated and designed to modernize. Keep in mind, Kansas paid Snoop Dogg millions to come to their Midnight Madness thing one night. I mean, everybody remembers that. So Kansas, all their rock, chalk, Jayhawk, 100 years tradition, and they had SNOOP, Crip walking in the damn. Come on, man. Like, you're doing whatever you got to do to get the kids now. But I'll say this. It doesn't really matter to me, because last year's Final Four, UConn, Miami, San Diego State, and Florida Atlantic. You're going to tell me
that was 2 years ago. 2 years ago.
You're going to tell me that their fan bases were, you know what I'm saying? We're going to talk Arizona fans. You still got to win the game. Just win the games. And you know what? To be honest with you, we cut down the nets in 97, which was 25 years ago, over 25 years ago. Winning Final Four appearances, national championships, that also affects that crowd atmosphere as well. So it's a two-way street. You bring home a national title, we don't have loudness issues. We're not talking about these things. I think this is just a convenient topic. Tommy made an observation. A lot of people jumped on it. Both sides can be true. I mean, but at the end of the day, we're not supposed to be like everybody else. Oregon has one of the best arenas in the country, but that doesn't necessarily translate to the aura that Arizona has, or it doesn't necessarily translate to the success that a Houston is having on the actual basketball court. So just because your program doesn't look like somebody else's, it's not supposed to. These are distinct areas around the country, different fan bases, different schools, different traditions. You've got some schools where basketball is an afterthought. football is dominant. And you've got other schools where it's the exact opposite. Then you got schools like Stanford with their $1 billion endowment. They could give a damn about sports at all, so your program is not, you can't just look over the fence and see what the neighbors are doing and feel bad or envy or try to tweak and change. If it's costing you recruits, then yeah, you got to do something. But if it's not costing you recruits, I think that adds to the richness of college basketball.
Yeah, no, I can appreciate that perspective for sure. I think at the end of the day, Tommy's looking to tweak things from an environment standpoint. I think there is something to be said about this feeling a little sterilized from time to time with all the corporatization that is happening in that arena. I would say that, because I think the fans had a point in terms of it feels like every time there's momentum, now we gotta watch this stupid ass Circle K or not Circle K, sorry, Coca-Cola. Tic-tac-toe race thing, all right, cool, whatever, or the bounce horse thing that they do, all right, cool, you just halted the momentum a little bit. I get it. You got to make the money though. You got to make the money. I get that, but Tommy knows that, and I think that there's tweaks, like I said, small tweaks that can make the environment just a little bit more special, while not losing the flavor of what Arizona basketball was intended for. So there's that. And then on the other side of this, let's talk about this, because I feel like in the last 2 days I've come across things that, I have been an avid Caleb Love supporter. And not because of Caleb Love's performance on the court, because I think, yes, it has been wildly inconsistent for the duration of his time here at Arizona, but because I just refuse to listen to people complain and try to throw in his face the money that he received to come to Arizona to play in the first place. At the end of the day, every player on that court wants to thrive. They want to excel. They want to play at a very high level. There's no doubt about that. In the last couple days, I've come across a couple clips that I think are kind of expose what the NIL era has done and what it is kind of harboring. And we're going to start right now. The first one we're going to start with is Danny Hurley. The other day on 60 Minutes had this to say.
50% of my roster or more. 50% of my roster or more is at least, considering going in the portal. If not, already knows what school that they're going to.
Well, half your team is already thinking in terms of whether they want to transfer to another program or not.
Yeah, and in a couple of those cases, they've already talked to the coaching staff at future school and have an idea of what their NIL is going to be there.
The money.
Yeah.
What does it do to a culture of a college basketball team when half the guys are fielding offers for next season to go elsewhere?
Well, look at the volatility this year. The level of volatility in college sports, this has now become a year-to-year proposition. The game has changed completely.
Okay, now there's a couple things before anybody says it. Yeah, I know it's a Hurley. I don't care. I think his point is valid. You have the current model of college athletics is it's kind of toxic, because these players are looking for their opportunity to play on the floor or on the field. And if they're not getting it immediately, if they're not getting that instant gratification, some of them, not all, some of them are already looking for their other opportunities down the road. They're looking for that payout. They're looking for whatever, right? And I don't blame the players for that. I don't. But it makes it incredibly difficult to build a consistent program when you're constantly in flux all the time. You're not only recruiting players to come to your program, you're recruiting players to stay in your program, to develop your program. And this is a 2-time back-to-back national championship coach that's having to battle this. Not even just, your regular run-of-the-mill coach. So I'm kind of fascinated to hear what you have to say, Corey. I have a feeling you might be a little bit on a different wavelength than I am.
Well, there's a lot going into this. And, you got to understand that for the past 60 years, 50, 60 years, a media entertainment machine has been built by the name of college basketball in America. Decades upon decades of great coaches, great players. This product didn't start off super dominant in the media space, but it has grown, and this money has poured into it. The TV contracts, the advertising money, the deals, the conferences, all this product has matured over 30, 40 years. And this huge machine was created in which a participant in the machine was not paid. Everybody else was paid.
Yeah.
Everybody surrounding the participant was engaged in professional behavior, contracts, agents, revenue, all of that. Schools, coaches, ADs. They had this wonderful machine where these young people are here for our entertainment and our profit, and that's it. And now it's changed, and now the young people can participate in some of the profitability of this machine that's been built over the last 50 years. And everybody's shocked to see 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old guys making 3 or 4 times as much as the average American to be a bench player on a mid-major. And I think that is what's offsetting to people, is they didn't realize the scope of this product that they've been enjoying for years. So to find out what a defensive lineman makes at Alabama on NIL compared to how hard the average American has to get up and go work to make that money, it's very off-putting to a grown adult to hear that kind of number. So then there's this resentment / envy that builds up, and people are like, I don't like NIL. It's ruining the culture. It's ruining whatever. But at the same time, the same person that tells you that they don't like NIL, that it's ruining the culture of college sports, they don't like it. I want you to ask that person, when you wake up and step outside your door, do you not constantly fight for your value and your leverage in the real world with your employer or your business? You do.
You do.
So it is alarming to see the leverage that these young people command, but you have to remember the apparatus that they're a part of. Do you know what CBS just paid for the March Madness? I know it was in the billions. I mean, the money's there, and the kids, and we always talk about this, this is more money than most of these kids will ever see. So yes, it is destructive to the culture. We don't talk about the New York, well, I guess with the Yankees, we could talk about their culture, but we don't talk about the Padres culture or the Miami Heat culture or the Kansas City Chiefs culture, because they're professional organizations. They sign people, you come and you do your job, and the organization wins. We talk about culture from that perspective, but in professional sports, everybody's embraced the concept that players are temporary. They're just passing through. You sign them, they play, and they go elsewhere. Now, it is a little bit of a jolt to college fans because we've never had to deal with anything like this. We're used to 4 kids that are going to school here, from 5 kids that are going to school here, playing against 5 kids that are going to school over there. Those days are over. 5 hired guns wearing a jersey for this school, playing against 5 hired guns wearing a jersey for that school. And the next year, they could be all over the map in new places, and it is what it is. And I think, yeah, it is very sentimental, and it's very difficult for modern day fans to accept the new change. And for a coach, it's absolutely impossible to deliver a consistent product unless you have a lot of NIL funding.
Well, that's the thing though, is like, you know, usually when you're in the realm of an area as an adult, to be able to make lucrative dollars for yourself, typically you're not jumping ship every year to a different job, unless you're just some marketing guru that every single company is trying to go after and just continue. Like, it's just very rare, right? You're talking about 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old kids a lot of these times who are they're still learning how to be an adult. They're still learning themselves. They're still learning, you know, about life in general. And some of them, based on, you know, the advice that they're getting or their background, they're not in the best of positions to make the best overall decisions for themselves. So I think that's the difference between, you know, some of the older adults that we're talking about versus somebody like that. And then second, like, listen, because of the variety of college sports and the vastness of college sports, in the professional leagues, they have salary caps. They have constructs outside of baseball, which is the reason why baseball's quickly continuing to slide down the ratings, because the inequity of baseball, people are just tuning out. Like they don't think it's fair. They don't care. And so they've lost interest, right? You don't want that to happen to college sports. You don't want it to just be like, well, it's just the SEC because they can afford to pay everybody everything that they can, and everybody else, oh, well, like you don't want that to happen. So I think there's a little bit of a battle for survival in some respects when it comes to the college fan. But on top of that, let's talk about the kid. Let's talk about these kids who, and I know it's weird to say, a 22-year-old person is a kid. Like they are, because they're still in school. There's still that mentality, like you haven't hit the real world yet. Like you haven't had to self-sustain your own business yet. You haven't hit the professional life yet. Like you're still relatively a kid. And some of these guys are getting big money to come to programs to save their program or whatever. One of those kids was Coleman Hawkins, and he came over from Illinois. He averaged 12 and 6 last year. He came over to Kansas State with the thought that he was going to help elevate that program this year and get them back to an Elite Eight, which they were just in a couple of years ago when they lost to Florida Atlantic, and Florida Atlantic went to the Final Four. Coleman Hawkins didn't have the greatest season. He was inconsistent. Much like Caleb Love, kind of just this up and down year, he ended up averaging about 11 and 6. When they got eliminated yesterday in the post game, right behind me, in the locker room, this is what happened.
These guys haven't experienced some of the things I've experienced. And, I really wanted to come in and impact the program. Fuck, man. I'm sorry for crying, but this shit hurts, but I really wanted to come in and impact the program. And, some of the stuff, the outcome, obviously wasn't what we wanted, but, if someone asked me if I regret coming here, I tell them, I don't regret meeting my team, the coaching staff, the people I met, and my heart just breaks for them because, like I said, they just haven't experienced some of the things I experienced in my career. And same thing for the fans, because I feel like I let a lot of people down. And I feel like I did a poor job of letting people talk about me and it affect my play. And it was evident all year, and I wish I could just go back and block out everything, not for myself, but for the team, so we could have had a more successful year. But, I mean, this is a learning lesson for me, and I wish the best for the future of this program.
That's hard to watch. It's just hard to watch, because, you can tell that he's the type of individual that will go on to social media and see what people are saying. And even when you have your best game, you're always going to have those people out there that are just going to trash you. And because of the $2 million that he received, there's going to always be people out there that are constantly weighing you against what you received. Like any one of us. Corey, if I gave you $2 million to come join PHNX or ALLCITY Network, and we had the worst numbers in the history of sports, are you going to give a damn?
We probably would have the worst numbers because I would take that money and go to the south of France and I wouldn't do no shows. So I'd be like, I'm out. Dude, that is so heartbreaking to watch because I did a podcast yesterday for a friend, and one of the people asked me, says, what advice would you have for kids in sports? And I told them, and I'm talking to 8 or 9-year-old kids, 11, middle school age kids. You are not your statistics. You are not your sport. You are not your stats. Because the culture, unfortunately, parents and coaches alike all pour into this concept that these kids are commodities and they treat these kids according to how they play. That video is so heartbreaking because here's a young man in his 20s who feels like he needed to deliver $2 million worth of excellence to Kansas State. Like he's the only player on the team. Like
real
he's
quick,
the best.
For those of you who are streaming on our streaming channels, make your move over to gophnx.com to watch the rest of the show. Go ahead, Corey.
So what's so troubling about that is You're right. The money, the expectations, the adult part of this whole NIL thing, the majority of these young people aren't ready for. If we're going to be honest, most people have a hard time getting their 20-year-old to take out the trash, let alone live up to a $20 million basketball commitment on national TV in a competitive sport, playing 30 times a year while going to school. So when you see a young person who gets the money that the system allows, that they negotiate, and then go out with these expectations, this is just a continuation of the AAU crap that these kids get started in younger of you are what you do, and we're going to treat you according to your productivity. You know what? That's fine if he's a 28-year-old free safety for the New York Giants. That's fine if he's a 33-year-old pitcher in Major League Baseball. But when you talk about young people, think about your own kids in your own family, your nieces, your nephews, your cousins, your sons, your daughters. Are any of them performing at this level remote to this field goal kicker or this softball pitcher or this basketball player? But people don't have those filters. People see this amount, I expect this, and that's fair. That's fair. I get it. But it's sad to see a young person who is completely engulfed in the concept that I am what I do. I was an Arizona Wildcat, but I was Eugene and Janet's son. I never thought of myself as an Arizona Wildcat. I always thought about myself as Corey Williams, son of Eugene and Janet Williams, brother to Tim, brother to Melanie. That's who I am. What I do is all of this stuff. And if you don't like what I do or I don't do it well, okay, that's fine. I'll take that. But at no point am I going to question who I am. I never felt like I was my stats. Even when I played 12 years pro, it never sunk into me because I had a different upbringing. So I'll say this. I had a birthday last week. I turned 51 years old. Not giving a damn what other people have to say about me. Saul, I didn't acquire that skill till about 11 years ago when I turned 40. It's not conceivable that a teenager or a young person is going to get there. Hell, most adults you and I know never get there. They're on social media reacting to everything that's said about them. They're responding to every rumor and allegation. Most grown adults can't tune out what people are saying about them. So how can we expect young people to? I was telling my brother the other day, if it doesn't affect my pocketbook, it don't affect me. That's just how I feel. I mean, I don't care. If you're not paying me, if you're not a close personal friend, I'm not going to spend too much time. But it took me till age 40 to develop that concept, to live a healthy life, to unplug about negativity and not worry about the naysayer. These kids don't stand a chance, especially with this in their hand, a cell phone that gives them access to 1 million strangers a day. I'm surprised this is the only video we have of a kid in an emotional crisis due to the situation and the leverage and the weight. It just broke my heart to see that because he's going to become a better player. He may end up in the NBA. Life will go on. But I really hope some people can throw their arms around that kid and say, hey, look, man, there's a whole life ahead of you. This is not your story. Don't let this narrative define you. Yeah.
No, I mean, honestly, back in the day when Jerry Maguire came out, and one of the scenes in there was when they were on the show Up Close with Roy Firestone, and I think it was like a defensive player was sitting there crying. He was supposed to be like LT, and he was crying. He's like, people don't understand the pressures that come with $16.7 million. He was like crying. You know what I mean? Like, you remember that scene, right? And at the time, I laughed about it. I was like, oh my God, like any one of us, $16.7 million, sign me up. I don't care how much hate I get, right? But there's a reality when it actually happens to you. And
you're right. Bringing it full circle to Caleb Love. You wake up every morning, you go to shoot around, you lift the weights, you run, you do workouts, you sit in film sessions, you put the jersey on and you play till you can't hardly breathe. And then someone says you're a failure and you cheated them because you got X amount of dollars and you only scored 16 points. Wait a minute. I did everything asked of me, and sports is sports. Competition, the ball goes in. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. I mean, I'm thinking of the field goal kicker that got death threats There's always one or two every year that get like, what are we doing, people? Like, I know you pour yourself into Michigan football or Arizona basketball or whatever I know it's your lifeblood, but can we fall short of projecting onto other people's kids? Like, can we as adults agree that maybe that's a bridge too far? But having someone define you as a failure because you didn't make them happy or you didn't get the desired outcome in sports, that is what I will always be against. If I see a kid cheating the game or I see a kid that's not giving his all, yeah, I'm going to call that out all day long. That's my job as an analyst. But I don't cross the line into a personal attack and basically making these young people feel as if this is who you are as a person. I talk to the kids at shoot around or whenever ESPN mandates on screen or on camera. I have zero contact with kids outside of work. I don't follow them on social media. I don't talk to them in the off season. My job is to cover what they do on the court. I try to be respectful of that, their families, their situations. I'm oblivious to how much they make in NIL because I don't want that to factor into my analysis of how they play the game. I have no idea how much money that kid made. I know that was a hell of a steal and a nice three, and I'll say that, but that's pretty much it.
Yeah, no, facts. Like I've never once in my life looked at a player on the court. I mean, you look at like ASU, for instance, they got a lot of NIL money. They spent a lot of NIL money and they didn't have a great year. They were riddled with injury. Like I've never once looked at any of those players and thought, man, what a waste of money or anything like that. Like I don't even look at it through that prism. And the same thing goes for Arizona basketball players. I don't know how much any of them got. I know Caleb Love got more than most, right? That's all I know. But that has never factored into my mind in terms of like, okay, now I'm going to change my judgment of him based on that because he's getting X, Y, and Z. I just haven't. I don't understand. Go ahead.
Let's just keep it real, Saul. We just cut to the bottom line. They mad because their prize picks is messed up. They mad. That's what it is. Like some of y'all get online because you done messed up, the vacation money on college sports. You done gambled on your little app and lost some money. So now you want to find the kid on Instagram and light him up because your parlay didn't hit.
Well, I think it's a little bit more than that. I think it's like, when Michael Jordan in The Last Dance there was that one little 2-minute clip where he was talking about like basically how hard he is on his teammates, right? And he gets emotional at the end because he pushed his teammates to the end and to the limit, right? Because that's how he is. And he uses a phrase where he says, "You think I'm a tyrant, but that's because you never won anything. Like you don't know what it is, what it takes to be me, like to try to maximize your talent and your potential to reach the ultimate heights, right?" I think to a certain degree, people are projecting because college athletes that used to not get paid this much before, or legally, let's just say it that way, there's this perception that like, oh, well, now you're making all this money, so now your performance should be way higher. Or it's, well, I'm still in this shitty job that I'm still making minimal dollars for, and this fucking kid is making $2 million to play basketball, and I don't think that's fair. So my expectations of him are going to be otherworldly, and I'm going to project my own insecurities onto him. That's what I think it is. I think it's a lot of BS from people that can't deal with their own lives, so they need to project it onto other people. That's what I feel like.
Yeah, and then Danny Hurley was kind of what we call dry snitching on 60 Minutes, talking about what was going on with the money and other schools tampering and trying to kid his players. And I'm gonna follow suit, and I'm gonna do a little dry snitching too, without violating the code. The suitcase has been around forever. You just never knew about it. Your favorite coach, your favorite program, your favorite NFL, NBA players, they were getting suitcases in the 80s and 90s. And because these guys have so much love for that school and the coach is so revered and that program so revered, no one, even the beat writers, don't want to talk about the suitcases from the 80s and the 90s and back in the day. There were dudes, everybody made a big deal out of Reggie Bush driving a Range Rover at SC. He wasn't the first person at SC to get a bag. Are you kidding me? But nobody wants to talk about it because nobody wanted to besmirch the programs. These guys went on. There are so many dudes that are already out of the NBA, already out of the NFL, that will never talk about the money their families got back in the day. They'll never do it because they're going to let sleeping dogs lie. But we put them up on a pedestal and assume that they played the game cleanly, but we're going to get on Twitter and make a kid cry. Now, it's just ridiculous. The bag has always been around. I'm not going to say who was getting bags, what schools they were getting bags at, but you can talk to dudes in the NBA. They'll tell you your blue blood program wasn't 100% clean. There probably were 0 that were 100% clean, where there wasn't somebody, whether the coach knew about it or not, giving a kid a bag. So I look at these situations and I think, okay, the new model is a shock to people's system, but the only shock to me is the money's out in the open now. And that's all. That's all it is.
Listen, I was not a high-level college basketball player. Ain't nobody going to come over after me for any violations at this point. This is 25, 30 years ago, right? But I will say this. After my first year in JUCO, a school was interested in me, and they just straight up gave me $1,000 just to be interested in them. But they were all the way across the country, and I wasn't trying to move over there. But hey, thanks for the $1,000. That was just, and that wouldn't even be to play for them. Like, cool, I'm good. So listen, I just, again, I think this is a complex issue.
I think we might have lost.
Factored in and cleaned up, but it is a complex issue, and there's a lot of things that could be cleaned up in the process. So, listen, I'm having technical difficulties. I apologize for that, folks. So let's just wrap it up. Iowa State just came back big time against BYU after being down by 10. Corey and I will do maybe a few things here and there, but we appreciate you all for joining us on McKale Madness live from Kansas City. I'm Saul Bookman. That's Corey Williams. Follow him at College Corey on social media, on Twitter and on Instagram. You can follow me at Saul_Bookman. Corey, what you got?
Speaking of technical difficulties, Duke is having some difficulties with the Fighting Stoudemires out of Georgia Tech. 31-31 in the second half. Let's go, Stoudemire. Bear down, baby.
Cooper Flag also got injured in that game, by the way.
Man, I don't nobody give a damn about that. See, Kev come in trying to come on, Kev, stop handicapping the situation. We don't care.
Man,
baby.
Man. They had that wheelchair, man.
Rep U of A. I don't give a damn.
In a wheelchair.
Yeah, he like landed on his ankle. It rolled pretty badly. He couldn't like put any pressure on it. And
he's done. Yeah, if he can't walk on it, he's not even gonna play next week.
Like he couldn't even put the heel of his foot down. You know how that gets.
I'm surprised when he didn't go straight to the back into the locker room. He didn't already declare for the draft.
That's Duke. Yeah, hey, put on that hat and go David Stern. Like, ain't nothing left to do but get ready for the draft, brother.
Yeah. Well, David Stern, R.I.P. He ain't here anymore. But we'll take Adam Silver. Adam Silver.
I'm from. He's still my commissioner. Yeah. And you know what was crazy was Cooper Flag had a chance to be that Anthony Davis, Carmelo Anthony freshman national champion that we haven't had in quite a while. And I was so interested in watching him get a chance to do that because I lament that freshmen aren't going to get you a national title. He was the exception to the rule, and now it sounds like he may not get a chance to make that happen for Duke.
Guaranteed, Duke will definitely get the last game on Friday of the tournament to give him every opportunity to heal up as fast as possible. Change their seed. Everything. It'll be the number one seed. They'll play at midnight on the East Coast because why not?
Zion kind of shut it down. Kyrie, when he was there, shut it down. The Zion came back for the tournament, but yeah.
So did Kyrie.
When you're a superstar athlete at Duke, the writing's on the wall. You're going to head on out, and it's just a shame that if he can't come back, that Duke fan base, they had a shot at a Final Four national championship team for sure. But let's pray that it's just an ankle and he gets some ice on it and he can go again.
Yeah, hopefully, because I want to see the best players play, point blank. Sure. So, and never forget that the Arizona Wildcats beat Kyrie Irving and the Duke Blue Devils in the tournament to get to the Elite Eight. Just wanted to throw that out there. Just make sure everybody remembers who the real ones are here. So, again, we appreciate you all for joining us on McKale Madness. Until next time, folks, bear down. Peace.
We all silly like the mayor.